Yo, what's up guys? Welcome to another Shamshir Sound video. My name is Ali Nadem. Today we're going to be looking at a special request that one of you guys left, and it was regarding making a track similar to Jay Hardway and Mike Cervello where they made EDM Bubble. And his request, bro, one big request, can you make a video on how to make drops using toms as melody by pitching them up or down? For example, the EDM Bubble track. So thank you for the request, Harvin. I'm going to make something like that. I actually checked out this request earlier and I tried to make a track like EDM Bubble, but it was very difficult. So we're just going to make something just kind of our own way, and we're going to pitch that tom. So with Mike Cervello and Jay Hardway, they did something where they essentially they use a lot of the pogo technique. So I'm going to show you the pogo technique. They use a lot of just pitching it upwards, downwards, a big reverb. So we're going to see what we can do using kind of that similar mindset. So let's just throw in something in here, get a little kind of kick going on. Here I'm going to go with a kick because their kick, it has a lot of low and mid, but not a whole lot of high-end energy. It allows that space for the lead to play. So we're just going to use something like this. This is from Ali Nadem Signature Sounds, free pack you guys can grab. So we'll just use this. It's in the key of E. EDM Bubble is also 128, but, you know, could go faster, could go slower. It's not a big deal. And let's find something percussive. Now, when we find something percussive, let's go for like a tom, or even like a cowbell could work really well for this. So I'm going to look for some percussion. Even that could work. That's really nice. That's also cool. Look for something that has some melodic content in it. Like, this isn't something I'd use, because that's going to be a pain working with. So here we have like a bunch of percussion, right? I'm really liking the first one, so let's route that to number 2, and we'll see what we can do with this. So the idea here is, first let's find our original note, right? We want to find the key that we're working with, and I love working with FL keys. We're working in E minor, ba ba ba, so we got to find that note. So we could either go on D sharp or we can pitch it to D sharp. Ultimately, it's really up to you what you want to do. So a lot of times I like to do that to like put at the right note. So here, if we're going to decide that this is what we want to work with, essentially let's go in here and look at the pre-computed effects. So with FL Studio 20, they brought back the pre-computed effects, which were really cool because you can apply an effect, but it's like pre-rendered. It's like some Resident Evil action, and it does it in the actual sample. So what do I mean? If you go to pre-computed effect, for instance, if you turn on the reverb, it applies reverb to that sample, and you have a different mode, but it's contained in the sample, right? It's not like an external effect that's working in real time. And so with that being said, you have some really cool controls. In this case, Jay Hardway, Mike Cervello, they're doing the pogo. But when pogo is used in small amounts, and when you reverse a sample, if you try playing the sample at different pitches, sometimes you can get some cool results. So let's see if we can mangle the sample and make it really substantially different from the original and make it some sick sound. So we're going to make different variations of it. And let's EQ this. We'll just do a simple processing, cut out some of the low end. We'll just do around 120. And just to keep it simple, throw on something like Soundgodizer. And let's put on... I kind of want to bring in a reverb that they were using, which would have been either Fruity Reverb 2. We'll just work with Fruity Reverb 1. It's very simple to use. I have a preset here. And let's cut out a bit of this tail. I like what that did, what we did there with the normalize, and adjusting the in and out really gave this a little like a punch. Sometimes you can get weird manipulation. So experiment. It's always about just trying out stuff. I didn't think that would happen. It really pushed the sound forward, drive it. So with this cloned, we're gonna see if we can make this one maybe different pitch. So what I suggest here, what we're gonna do, just to clean this up, the whole idea is now we have something that's like, I think, being driven pretty well. But let's just give it like a longer melody structure, make it 4 bars long. And we're going to just put kick on its own pattern. Okay, and we're going to make this one longer like so. And let's choose some notes. So let's kind of do like maybe like a draft melody. So just now getting the right notes. Now you can use a VST like G-Tune if you're having struggles finding the right notes. So here I'm just going to label these. I'm going to call this like E. I'm going to call that A, low. I'm going to call this one C. And then we just need a D, so we'll clone this one, and we should just have to go up 200 cents. And you can see it kind of gets easier than we anticipate, you know? Then we just have to do the math. So why not? We'll just clone D again. And we just have to go to A. Now, if this is A low, right, and it's minus 300, if we go to plus 900, we should be at A, the top one. And you see, that's it. So we'll just put this as A high. And what we can do is now we can take... Actually, this will be a bit tougher, but we'll just turn this off. And what we'll do is we'll just now paste the same notes. So now we need C, I believe. Yeah. and then back to E. And then we're at the A high. Almost done. So now we go A low and then back to C. So go to A low and back to C. And I think the final note is D. All right, so then we're just going to go back to D. So now we have a cool melody and it's playing the same notes. Why not let's play this simultaneously just to inspect it. Cool, really cool. Now what we can do to control this a bit better, guys, is we can use the cut self. So cut self will make sure it keeps interrupting. It keeps interrupting the sample. So if you have a long sample with like a long snare trail or something, and you want it to always interrupt itself, so the click keeps introducing or preventing stacking of the sample, always do this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put them on the same one. So every sample interrupts one another. So it doesn't matter if there's a long trail, they will interrupt one another. You don't always need to do this, but it gives you technical control if you want to prevent stacking. So now it should sound slightly cleaner and tighter. So now let's see what we can do with maybe some processing. Let's maybe get a fruity disto in there. Fast distortion. All right, so let's take a look at this, what we got so far. It's not too bad, you know, it's pretty, but we gotta improve the sound. I like the sound though. It's cheesy, but actually it sounds cool. You guys see, I didn't expect this. Let's see if we can do something unique with Fruity Reverb. We're going to use the peak controller. And the peak controller, it really deserves its own video. But the peak controller just basically receives data. It just receives data and it can see the volume of what we're playing. And I want to do something dynamic with the Fruity Reverb, with the wetness. I want the wetness to jump up when the notes are not playing or when the notes are quieter, to allow maybe a breathing reverb. So let's do that. So we're going to control this, attach it to peak, but we'll do the invert. So bass, let's see if this works. I'm not a big fan of what's going on, so we're just going to reset it back to our static. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And also the type of reverb you're using is also important. Sometimes doing that jumping reverb isn't so pleasant with certain plugins. Let's go ahead and just try Fruity Reverb 2. Pretty cool. Let's just compare it. Yeah, let's just stick with Fruity Reverb 2. And let's drive this kick a bit more because it's lacking in volume. If we take a look, guys, the kick is being beaten by the tom lead. Now, of course, you can turn the tom lead down, but we're just gonna boost the kick because the kick is pretty quiet respective to the tom lead. It's at like -6. So you can throw in whatever you want. Camel Crusher, Sausage Fattener. Let's just do Camel Crusher, see what we can get. Pretty cool. Let's see here. I'm gonna mix the reverbs. You can always stack reverbs too. You don't have to do like only one reverb plugin. Know that really at the end of the chain, like ultimately if I have Fruity Reverb 2 on there, that one's gonna affect the characteristic the most because it's the last in the chain. But you could put like a different reverb before one of the reverbs to give it even more wetness, and you don't have to drive it a whole lot. So we could see if it kind of helps spread out the sound. I'm going to put a delay on there, but I'm going to keep it very conservative. I'm going to put it before the reverb. So now we gotta see what we can do. I'm gonna try some pitch bends with the slide functionality in piano roll. Not very good, but again, we're just challenging ourselves. We're trying to see what we can force out of this sound, and I'm more and more feeling like I want to throw on like some sort of bit crush. So I'm gonna throw on the Tal bit crusher, which is free. I really suggest you guys use it. It's a really good bit crush plugin, and I've used it a lot in the past on like bass lines, kicks. You can really drive anything with this. I really lately like using Fruity Soft Clipper to give control a sound, especially if I don't want it to surpass like the signal of something else. And it really gives like a kind of a warmth to the sound. It's very pleasant. So I like to just find the threshold. Basically, you have to turn the threshold down to the point where you want it to kind of control the sound. And it has a soft curve. Why not bring in the OTT? We're going to use the OTT here. I feel like, why not? Let's just see if we can really drive this sound. We'll put it right before Soft Clipper, and we're going to introduce the depth very slowly. When I do use it, I like to sometimes put the upwards and downwards at 50% so that what I'm mixing in is a bit less as strong, but really it's up to you. Ultimately, the very important knobs are going to be your time, which is like how fast it responds. The depth is your dry wet, but you get results as soon as you crank even to like 2 or 3%. And of course, this is like an extra control to boost frequencies afterwards. I use the high, mid, low to like sometimes boost a little bit of the high after the fact that I've applied the OTT compression. And remember, it's upwards and downwards, so that's what is the beauty of OTT. It can bring out some details that were almost non-existent. I wouldn't say non-existent, but they were so hard to hear because it's bringing out details and it's pushing down details. It's compressing, so it can really flatten and pancake a lot of sounds really well. Pretty good. Now let's see what this sounds without our signal chain. So have a listen to this. This is with all the effects off. We're gonna turn off sidechain. And now this is with it on. Right, very drastic difference. Processed, really pumping. Really got that wetness, and the OTT is kind of bringing it a bit more, kind of sizzling it, kind of a little bit of spice. The OTT, think of it as kind of like a little spice on top. It's giving that little extra drive. Now, when I do run out of plugins, like here, my plugins I've maxed out. So I route it to a new chain, and then I call it like Tom Lead Bus or Master, whatever you want to call it. And I'm a very visual guy. I love to keep things very color coordinated. So like so. And then I'm just going to put my kickstart right there, so that now I have 9 more slots, or well, 10 because of this one here. And at this point, we also have to make considerations. This is a pretty harsh sound, so it's very likely that there's going to be signals or sounds in there that are harsh, some resonating frequencies. Just be mindful of that, and it would probably be a good idea to, at this stage, roll a EQ on there and listen for some harsh frequencies and do a little bit of notch EQ to remove some of those surgically. But we won't focus too much on that. I kind of want to do like the final nail in the coffin, perhaps a Camel Crusher on the lead, just to give it a little bit more drive. And we're going to use just a simple preset here. So what I'm thinking about doing is I'm going to layer this sound. I'm happy with the sound. It needs a little bit more pump. So let's give it like, I'm going to call this saw pump. Okay, I'm going to call that saw pump, and we're going to add an instance of massive. Now, I wanted to do this only percussive, but what's the harm in adding an instance of massive just to give a little bit of layer to complement this? We're going to copy the melody from the FL keys, because now it's great. Now we have that melody saved. But we want to keep this in the back, guys. We don't want this like being so driven, super loud. We want it kind of more like psychoacoustic, unconscious, in the background kind of thing. So I'm thinking I'm going to keep it monophonic. I'm not going to make this really wide. I want to make more of a monophonic sound and let maybe the tom lead just be that very pluck width. And I'm going to pitch this guy down. There we go. Really cool using the 7th by going to -5, or you can go to 7 instead of -5. And what we're going to do here is being really driven. So again, we need to control this. And I'm just going to throw on soft clipper. What I'm going to do with soft clipper is I'm just going to go extreme and just see how much it's going to like suffocate the sound. Cool thing we got going on, could go for ages just like manipulating that, and it's sick, right? But what we're gonna do right now, we're gonna add another instance of massive to wrap things up. And I'm gonna make this like the mono layer. I'm gonna make this the layer that just strictly tries to complement the sound. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try and sneak it in. And by doing this, I'm just gonna use just like a noise. So I'm going to turn off oscillator 1. I'm just going to bring in a little bit of noise. And noise is your best friend to help like a lead cut through the mix. I made a video about that, how the noise is so important. So let's see what we can do. So this is kind of like a top, you could call it like almost like a top kick thing. Let's take a look at the resonating frequencies of tom lead. Just see kind of what's popping. So we can see it's really around those mids, really popping. 708 frequency, going down like 500. So because of that, I'm going to make like a dip. I'm going to make a dip around that 733. And I'm going to be mindful of this kind of top end as well. But I think really the mid is what is the most important. So I just want to carve out some space. We're going to add one last thing to this saw, and which is the fruity reverb that I'm using. I'm going to copy over the preset. I think it's a good idea. Let's do that right now. I'm going to do it the weirdest way. I'm going to drag it. You can do file, save as, but when you left click and hold, you can literally just drag it into another slot. And I'm just going to delete all this stuff. And we're just gonna, we'll give it like the same love. Kind of like this. We'll just call this like saw pump bus. All right, and you can also right click on stuff and do separator. I'm gonna do that just to separate these two guys. And that is essentially a wrap. It's looking pretty good. I'm gonna route this to that. I'm going to turn off the kickstart here. And now let's play this back. One listen in mono. let's just check the low end frequency of this click. The last thing we want to do is I want to check on this kick. I kind of want to boost a tiny bit of that like rumble near the end. Now, there's so many ways to do it. I'm just going to throw on an EQ and just see what it sounds like. So I'm happy with this. Gonna bring it back to stereo, and that's a wrap, guys. So I hope you guys like this. You guys can download this project in the video description. I hope you enjoy it. Do with it what you want to do, and really cool that you can make something. I want to go back to this original sample so we can hear it. Perk 1. So guys, this was the original sample. So we took that little impact and it became this. So it's not something like what Jay Hardway and Mark Cervello made. It's going to be very difficult to make that, and kudos to them for making a really unique sound. But I just wanted to show you guys you can make something melodic while also making it percussive. Like even if something's percussive, you can turn that into a really sick melody, and that's the case what we did here. And just separate things. The key is to separate things, keep them unique from each other, pitch them up, pitch them down, play with the pogo, play a lot with those pre-computed effects, because that is the key in allowing you to make something that's kind of unique. Here, I normalized it. I played with the fade in. We applied a little bit of that pogo. We pitched them up, pitched them down, and the result is we made something pretty cool. So if you guys enjoyed this video, remember to smash that like button. If you've made it this far, thank you for giving your time to watch this video. And make sure you guys are subscribed, that you hit that notification bell. Today is the last day to do that survey. So if you guys are serious about music production, you love music, check out that survey. You can win a one-on-one video call with me. And that's a wrap. I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.